Anyway. Well, the total. Your carpool late relations, I had been last couple years.
So we used to have this.
I thought about going to look at the
This and that.
You know, like,
They needed So the use that is your taper.
Yeah.
It's more.
Thank you, Don.
I had it on my calendar.
Okay, we ready?
I'm sure.
Okay, I'm gonna start. Brian.
Well, celebration.
Just ring it anyway.
Okay, I'm starting the meeting. Meeting's started.
All right, if you'll please rise, we'll see, do the pledge. I pledge allegiance. The United States of America. And to the republic which stands. One nation under God. Indivisible with liberty and justice for all. All right. We're emphasizing the bold text here. Remember that, please, in honor of Rotary. The four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First.
Is it true?
Second.
Is it fair to all concerned?
Third.
Will build goodwill, better friendships,
Fourth.
beneficial to all concerned.
Fifth.
Is it fun?
All right.
There you go. Awesome. Thanks. Yes, thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you very much. So if we would all pick up and move one table forward.
Yeah, do it.
I know.
That's for the late comers.
Right, right. So, Mr. Secretary, do we have an inspirational thought?
I do, because of the timing of the inspiration, I apologize to the women. Rotary,
Wait a second, I gotta turn this off.
Story behind this.
Rotary is built of men made of good stuff. The ideal of service is developing into practice. As the consequences, the organization will never stand still. That was delivered by Art Comp, Rotary Club of Cleveland in 1929.
Wow.
When only men were meant so.
Men were members back
That
then.
was the first year that Lauren started attending Rotary Club.
Awesome. Now men and women
Yeah,
equality. So there you go.
I could have, but I had to quote it just as she had.
No, I know, and it was a quote, so
Quote's a quote.
the quote's a quote. And it's probably been amended later. So anyhow. Okay, so we have, let's see, the guest, we have Bob Howe here, who's been here before. He's kind of visiting through everything, and glad you're here, and he thinks he's gonna join, so that's awesome.
Finally, yes.
So, as you say, as a coach, get that man a uniform. So you need an
We have
application.
uniforms?
Yeah, I guess, yeah. Anyhow, anybody else out, you're the speaker, but you'll be coming up later around 8 or so. And so Amanda Zamara, awesome, thanks for being here. And oh yes, how are you doing again? Nice to see you. Did you get your application in?
She did.
Awesome. God, how are you feeling? Okay. Awesome. And so with that, we'll move on to celebrations. So we have a birthday here today. Actually, today is Connor Davis, which he's not here, his birthday. It doesn't say the year, but it's his birthday, so happy birthday. And I did see any spouses or anniversaries. And we have Brian coming up next week, so I always go from Sunday to Saturday, so that's where the cutoff is, but. Some people think the weekend belongs to the week before or the week after or whatever, so anyhow.
Well, it isn't called a week before.
Right.
Unless you're like a retired person who has only 6 Saturdays and Sunday in their weeks. Every day is a weekend.
Yes, okay. Couple announcements, district conference, I've signed up. I think there's a few of us that have signed up out here to go, so it'll be a lot of fun. It's in Canada. I hope to see more people up there. That would be great. There'll be a lot of, they drink beer up there and stuff like that. So not that that's the main thing, but imagine a peaceful and inclusive world. That's what we're going to be doing up there. Imagine
Yeah.
and be optimistic.
Yeah, lost.
You inspired us.
I know, let's go, let's go. And there's a convention in Melbourne, Australia, so that's coming up. And to really promote, we're coming to June 30th and, Tracy's getting all the applications in for funds and stuff like that for our community. So let's try and keep that focus in when we see people and our speakers and stuff like that that want to put an application in. Let's kind of promote that. So that'd be awesome. And then we'll start off with our reports. We have the treasurer's report.
Everything seems to be going as good as possible.
Okay, that's good.
That doesn't inspire you.
What possible is that? Awesome.
It's like turning my report into the IRS.
Yeah, lots of energy. We're all at one.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
It definitely is all about how much fun it is to be in the IRS.
Right, your vacation's coming up like Wednesday, right?
Well, a week from
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah. They can go back more than 3 years.
Oh, yes, they can.
Anyhow.
Moving on.
Yeah, treasurer's report, secretary's report.
You're good. Look, he's not even close to my age and you're trying to compare us.
I know, right?
The next board meeting is Tuesday, April 18th at Brian's office. And on Monday, Bev and I are starting a 7,000 mile driving trek, going to Boise, Wyoming, Denver for 3 days, Santa Fe for a night, Tucson or Fort Worth for 2 nights with our granddaughter who's going to TCU. And on the Baton Rouge, and that's the ultimate goal, because every April, Bev starts getting the craving for crawfish. And it's crawfish season in Louisiana. And having spent 16 years there, I go through this every April. So as a part of her birthday, we're going down there and we'll end up with our kids later on.
Like your pan pond.
Yeah, Rand and I are still trying to work out his switch. They still have him as a member, and so we're working as soon as they do their thing. He's on our rolls, he's not on RI's roll. So we're just working that out. I sent out a note, James and Chris are not getting the Rotary magazine. If you're not getting the magazine, let me know and I'll talk to RI to find out what's going on there, why they're not sending it out. Johanna, as she said, has turned in her application and it will be taken care of on the 18th. And once that gets approved, I'll still be able to do a few things from the road. So I'll try and get her badge and everything ordered. So that when I get back, you know, also, I'm involved with the Lake Stevens Community Working Group, which is community transit. They're trying to do a pilot project like they're doing in Linwood. In Linwood, it's called a zip drive. It's vehicles, basically. Some are just a car, some are a van. And the idea is to do the same thing here in Lake Stevens. They would charge the same amount of money that they would do for a bus trip. So, like we've got the senior center, we've got the skateboard park, got downtown area. So we had our first meeting last month. We'll have another meeting next month. And it's about a 3-month, 4-month process. There's a survey that they have sent to the members of the committee, asking us to send it out to any of our contacts. So you're going to be getting that in the mail. And please take a look at it. And if you have a chance, fill it out. And that'll give a chance for them to, when we meet again in mid-May, to take a look at that survey and see what the general public is saying about what they think the needs are. Could be up to 6 cars. The radius is really about in Linwood, it's only a 7-mile radius within the Alderwood Mall sector. And I don't know, Rand, if you've ever seen any of those zip there.
Small cars, yeah.
Yeah. So, and supposedly the whole ideal is you get on the phone, you call them, and they're supposed to be there in less than a half an hour, 20 minutes. That's the goal. It's not like some of the bus services that they call and they may have to wait 2 hours to get in and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Are they targeting specific demographics?
No, they're just looking at the, well, to a degree, we're looking at the whole area, one probably in downtown, one up Frontier Village, possibly one up by the Caballero or the skate park, possibly one up by the senior center.
Right, but I was thinking if somebody who's not as able to get to a bus stop or something like that, that would be the target group.
We try, yeah, that's the attempt, but that's why they're sending out the survey. They want to kind of get an idea of the area that they need to serve. So that's the goal. So I just want to let you know that that survey will be coming to you. It shouldn't take you but about 10 or 15 minutes to fill it out. Feel free to do it. That's it.
Awesome, thanks.
That's fine. See, I took that extra time because I'm going to be gone for 3 weeks. So
As long as you have a replacement, it's all good. Who is your replacement? All right, there is none. You're irreplaceable. Anyhow, so I have,
as long as Steve doesn't get me in the end.
he will,
So, yeah,
he will.
but not right away.
Not now. It's not time.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so we have President-elect Don here that's got a few things he wants to show us and tell us.
Okay. Well, as promised last week, the board has come up with recommendations for our upcoming board, as far as nominees. And so the good news is we have a nominee for every position. So all we need is any additional nominees if anybody is interested in going after it. The intent is to have a vote next week at next week's meeting. So
And by email.
it can be any way. It just needs to basically come to me. And we'll add it to the list, and then ballots will be printed up for the meeting next week. And I would think that we also can have email votes too. I don't think that would be an issue as long as, we just get one vote from each person.
How can you ensure it's not fraud?
Yeah, really.
Steve Hobbs will be counting about.
All right.
Cutoff time, I mean, if they're gonna send an email in, just.
It has to be by, I'd say probably, if it's going to be an email, I think it should be 8 o'clock on Thursday night. Because I really want to have it on the ballot, the paper ballots that we pass out. Seem fair to everybody?
Yep.
And I do have a screen to share. And let's see. It'll be that one. This is what we did. So, Rotary has basically a recommended list of committees and subcommittees. And in coming up with my ideas, I tried to stick to people that are on committees, whether it's a subcommittee or a major committee. And the good news is we basically were able to fill all of these slots. We've got obviously 5 major committees, but the club administration and the service projects committees are actually very, very broad. And so we don't have anybody that is like a single person that runs club administration. That's too much work, basically. And for our club, at least, I think the service projects, it's such a big thing for what we do with vocational and education and community that we have multiple people serving as subcommittee chairs. So we, I got to try out our new pointer. Turn it on, I think. Finally, it works because it wasn't working with our old computer. So for the club officers, 3 of the 6 seats automatically rotate, and those are the ones that are in blue. And they, once you start that path, which is becoming a president nominee, you are basically on path to work your way up through the ranks. So the president nominee is voted in. And then he or she will replace the president-elect, who will replace the president, who will replace the past president. So that's a normal rotation. So they won't be on, the blue folks won't be on the ballot. The rest will. They have to be voted in every year. So Brian Ruiz has agreed to be our president nominee. He's been on the board for a couple of years. Yeah, definitely. So we're very happy about that. Gary has agreed to continue as secretary if we want him to. And Jack has agreed to continue as treasurer.
Notice it says Lori backup though.
Yeah, well, and
Is she a member, Lori Backup?
and that's actually a very good point, which I think is really cool. Treasurer is a big job. And especially for a person that has to work through tax season. And as we know, Lori was our treasurer last year, Jack this year. They've been working together, as you noticed, and developing, our system. And we actually have a laptop that is owned by the club that has got our software on it, basically, and all of our records. And, it's informal and it has to be voted in every year, but the plan is maybe for Lori and Jack to alternate years, as long as we're all willing to have that, including them. And the nice thing about that, I really like is we always have somebody that is pretty much up to speed on what's going on in our finances in case the other person needs help. So it's just a natural, as long as that relationship can continue, it'd be a wonderful thing. So anyhow, those are our 3 candidates that are on, as far as officers that are on the ballot this year, as far as what the board is nominated. Again, others can be nominated. I'd like to add that we really have a working board, and we try to, if at all possible, pull from people that are already kind of out there doing stuff. And reality, most of the folks you see up there have been doing multiple jobs. And so I wanted to list those. there's been a couple changes. One is myself, in addition to doing club administration work. I am hoping that Kendra is okay with me helping with the programs committee, because that's a tough job. I did that for several years. And, and it kind of goes on and on, but, anyhow, we'll work together to come up with future. Yeah, okay. And, then, everything else is pretty much straightforward. So those are the nominees for officers. Now, we also have club directors. Our bylaws have us as having 5 directors as well as 6 officers. And all of these folks, with one exception, have agreed to continue in their current role. So there's no news there, basically, for most of them. And you hopefully all know what they already do, and they will continue doing those services. The one change is Rand has so graciously agreed to take on a public image role. And if you remember that first graphic I put up, public image was one of the big ones. And that is super important to the club because it involves so many of the other things that are important to us. Having a good public image allows us to have more people that are willing to donate. They know more about our club. We exist more in the public eye, so that's a biggie. And it can translate to other things like, and particularly what's nice with Rand is he's got a lot of professional experience in this area, and it can translate to how do we run our fundraising type things, and it's just a really big deal. So I'm really excited about that. We've got a lot of people that have been working in that arena already in multiple areas. We've got 2 Chris's that are really helping a lot with the IT side, and they'll continue to help, I'm sure. As far as folks that have been very engaged in doing our major event planning and the work, lots of volunteers for that. So you'll just have to be like the overseer, hopefully, in most of these things. So finally, we have the Rotary Charitable Foundation. That's on the budget, or I'm on the ballot too, isn't it? The Rotary, okay.
It is.
And there's generally not a lot of discussion that has to happen at board meetings. But in general, as has been the club history, we try to just have people that are on the club board also serve on the foundation board. So this is basically, the same people we've already seen that are there already at the board meeting to assist with any business that has to happen with the foundation.
Now, is it typical that the vice president at the foundation becomes the president after a couple of years?
I don't think there's a typical there. I think what is typical is that the club president is the foundation president.
Oh,
That's the sense I get.
yes.
Well, actually, I forgot to mention Jim. He actually on the previous slide, let's go back. He hasn't been on a director as this last year, but he has been running the foundation committee. And so again, we're trying to have our directors be active, in things that are already kind of part of Rotary's mission. So since Jim is our director involved in foundation, it only makes sense that he's also, a vice president at least of the charitable foundation. So
Do you need a motion to accept the slate of candidates?
Yeah, we could do that. If there's any nominations from the floor for any spot.
I think since these are just nominations, I think that the board has already voted to have these, but it's really more we're open to other nominees.
think you formally have to have a motion to accept the slate. By the general members.
Well, does it become then a club recommendation? Or a club nomination?
I'm happy to look at the bylaws, maybe you could do it by email after the meeting. Needs to happen.
I don't remember it specifically, but I'm pretty sure that there has to be a motion to accept the slate. And then a vote happens later.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that,
Process.
because it seems like then that can't happen until nominations are closed, right?
You can't vote until the nominations are closed.
Yeah, but I mean,
Still
what if,
accept nominations from the floor, so to speak.
At the meeting, right?
Yeah,
is that what to this meeting? ought to
you
be?
can do a motion now to accept the ballot as is. And then if somebody wants to run, they can do that when they turn in their name, or they can notify you.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
So I move that we accept the slate of candidates as presented by the board.
Second.
All right.
Now you need to vote on the motion.
Okay.
All right.
Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, then let's have a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Okay, the motion is approved. The slate stands.
All right. And lastly, I'd just like to acknowledge that we have several other subcommittees that are people that are working actively on this too. And I'd like to also always promote that anybody that isn't, tied into a subcommittee, please reach out and ask to help. It's greatly appreciated because it's, it is a lot of work involved in doing all of this. So with that, any questions or any other questions? All right. We will stop sharing.
Thank you, Don. It's gonna be exciting. We've got a lot of things we're doing, and I found the clip. Gary, don't, maybe I'll sleep at night now.
Oh, you found
the
it? Were you hiding it?
sign, no. So this club is just on a trajectory to get better and bigger for the whole community, and it's awesome. Everybody's standing up, doing something to help out. Optimism is in full tilt here, so that's awesome. And I do have one other thing that I am gonna start a bylaws committee, and Lance is gonna run that. Somebody's interested, I know Tracy, myself, maybe Gary, but
Fighting.
yeah.
Years, so.
Jump up and say aye. So, all right, so we'll get that going, but he's busy with a couple other things, and he'll get that going in probably a couple of weeks or a month or so or whatever, so.
It'll be a couple of weeks.
Yeah, thank you for that. And thanks, Mr. President to be. Awesome. It's gonna be fun. So, yeah. Okay, so let's see here. We have, I guess some people are gone right now. If anybody has anything on club services. I think next Tuesday is a little thing up at the brewery, Tuesday. night.
Fireside?
Fireside, yeah, thanks. Yeah, Fireside coming up Tuesday. And Brian Ruiz, so what do we have on like your stuff? Committee services?
Rain.
Rain, awesome. Turn it off.
So no towards the project. So, right, I mean, until that passes, but something exciting. Scott and I met with Sarah, who's the park and director.
Last name?
Good luck.
Sarah G. Sarah G. There you go.
Yeah, GARCEAU. Anybody want?
Our son.
Thank you. And we were talking about something separate, but you mentioned they're in a stage right now where they've gone around to the parks and they've done a punch list of projects. And she showed us like London Park, which we sponsor. And it's a ton of like little stuff, a bunch of little stuff. So they're gonna put together debates. So be on the lookout for us sending out over the summer, a lot to do at Lundin for sure. So yeah, and then as soon as weather gives us a break, we'll do the torch down. And while the weather's bad, we'll probably put a skate park cleanup because it's gonna be graffiti. So doesn't matter if it's raining, it'll kind of help us with the, with all that. So just keep an eye on your emails.
Awesome, perfect. So moving right along here, Linda. Are you there?
I am here. Good morning and all good in the international group. Nothing new to report.
Great, thank you for that. Yes, and then membership, I know Kyle's not here, that's going well. And vocation, Lance, I saw some emails you sent out, so.
I'll be quick in respect to our speaker, but, just like anything, wait till last minute to send in your scholarship application, right?
Is that what it
So I
says?
had one, early in the week, one application. And got 3 yesterday.
Oh, good.
I've not announced that we're extending the deadline until today because I wanted to keep a little bit of pressure on for today.
Good.
But we will extend it to next Thursday. I've already let Kim LaFortune at the high school know.
Oh, good.
We'll get them. I'll do some outreach to Snow Isle next week to get some vocational candidates. And if you want to be a judge, please respond to my email that I sent out yesterday. I think I got 4 of you so far. It'd be nice to have 8 or 10 people that read all the great applications that we're gonna get.
Awesome. That's the most exhilarating thing we can be involved with. It's so cool to see the applications and students and where they're going and what they're doing. They're practically already doctors, it seems like, so. They're on a great trajectory. We can help them lift off the pad, so. Okay, let's see here. Do we have anything for program? Not that we'll get her up here, but do you have anything?
So Brett Davey will be speaking on state of the city here soon.
Cool.
I've also got, I'm thinking of his name, the sheriff, Courtney.
Yeah.
Is it-
Oh, really? Adam,
Yeah.
Adam Fortney.
As well.
Cool.
And also, I didn't realize this was already a year ago, but I got an email about Marty from IPA from Linda. And her and I both agree that it seems like she was just here a few months ago, but she really was here last June.
Wow.
So we'll be getting her on the calendar to speak about
Yeah.
other projects as well.
Awesome, cool. Thanks for the great work you do there, finding people to come. And I don't know, Gary, anything on communications?
No,
Okay, and again, don't forget Tracy. I don't think Tracy's on, but and don't forget to spread the word about applications for funding for your little entity or whatever. And with that, I have Kendra that would like to come up and introduce.
Are we not doing a thing?
Are we? Oh, yeah. The headset guy. Have you seen this? The headset guy? Jack Nicholson, anyhow.
Everybody's got their winning tickets? All right, I'm gonna have you draw the winning ticket, please, the red one only, and read the last 3 numbers nice and loud.
883.
Wow.
Never win.
You got
But I'm a winner in life though, but just not.
it. Now you're a owner.
Okay, part 2 is, I'll pull the yellow duck out.
You did it.
It's yellow duck.
It's you.
must stand for orchard and hunting.
All right.
I guess W can be W or an M.
All right, we're
W,
gonna
winner,
make this
M
quick
for
because we
money.
want to be respectful of our speaker. Fine, sir, for starting late.
Yes, okay, here's my dollar for that. Sorry
And
about
what
that.
Rotary year is this?
This is like the 22-23.
22, I don't see a 22 on there. Does anybody see a 22 on there?
Yeah.
Set up the room.
23. I don't know. I wasn't, okay.
I'm gonna have to find you.
Okay. Misadvertising.
There you go. Okay, next time.
And you'll have to keep me straight.
All right, let's see, that was last in, so we need to go on this, Lance, were you finding yourself?
I'm just donating to the cause.
Let's do some happy bucks. Happy bucks, why are you happy today?
Happy every day.
Okay.
Good answer.
President-elect.
Well, I'm just happy enough to, it's, there's another day, it's not sunny and nice, but it's still a good day.
Yes, it's still a good day.
Joyce, how are you?
And Here.
Excited to see you again.
Good to be here.
Linda?
Thank you. I'm just happy too. I'll Venmo.
There we go. All right, good. Good to see you, Mr. Hal.
I'm happy to be at a club that has actual meetings.
Yeah.
Awesome, yes.
So since he's lived here a while, do we not, he doesn't have, and once he joins, he doesn't have to pay that higher tax because he was.
Yeah, he's come over, we get tax exemption, or talk to Jack in the back.
Okay.
Just, looking forward to spring. I planted a whole bunch of daffodil bulbs down our driveway. We have a 300-foot driveway. And so it does about half of it, but they're starting to bloom. They're starting, but we're at a higher elevation.
Let's pull my bus down here. Yes, all right, I see. All right. What's next?
Happy it's Friday, double happy it's Friday.
There we go.
There's money on the table.
You know better than.
Happy it's Friday. And happy I got a Tesla because this morning I went out, climbed in the car and it was already warm and all ready for me to drive to work.
So did you drive or did he drive?
If I drive,
Sorry. No, apologies.
and on the wheel.
There you go. That's smart.
You learned how when you did your driving lessons.
Yeah.
You get in and actually sit behind the wheel or just.
I'm happy I don't have a 300-foot driveway. Reminder, 10 o'clock, if you want to tour the food bank, Anthony and myself will be there, so.
10 o'clock, 9 o'clock?
Yeah.
It is, I might be able to make it, because it said 9 on our website. Yeah.
Well, that's what we originally thought. But
That's good. Yeah, make me.
If you can make it, please come check it out. It's coming along.
Yeah. Maybe we should have one of our meetings.
We could probably do that, not during the middle of the construction.
I gotta be up and see the.
See.
A man is on his deathbed to whistle through. He says to his wife, after I'm gone, I want you to marry our neighbor Bob. She says, I thought you hated Bob. He says, I do. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Well, this is kind of a big congratulations to Land and Sherwood. They set the bar for the fundraiser last Saturday night. Several of us were there and enjoyed it. Ace Hardware walked away with Hazel Muhammad. Oh, Muhammad Award, and which was well deserved. And the good crowd, and it was a good effort, and it was a good venue. Lori worked in the front desk, and so did Angie. And there was several of us there from Rotary Club. So it was good.
It was awesome.
Successful? Very successful. So here's my happy to thanks for all you guys' support last Saturday. And today we're having a community Easter egg hunt at Sherwood. If you haven't heard, come on, come all. I put out 3,000, I didn't volunteer, put out 3,000 eggs yesterday. And I think they're putting out another 2,000 today.
Wow.
Where are you? 3 o'clock at the Sherwood office.
On the grass there.
Yeah.
What day?
Easter today.
3 o'clock today.
If there's any money there on any of those eggs, I'll be there.
Age, maximum age.
12.
Yeah,
Maximum is 12.
Physically, it's not.
From my wife, I woke up this morning and she had her knee break.
That makes you happy for her.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to sleep. I make breakfast, not that it's a chore, but I make breakfast every morning. But this morning I got to wake up, I came down in a hurry to make breakfast and she's like, I got something on it for you. Wow.
I am happy because the Kraken made the playoffs.
Oh,
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing.
$10 because I missed last week. I was down in Astoria, Oregon on a location shoot. that was scrubbed because of all the sea lions, wouldn't quit barking. And we scrubbed the chute because we couldn't go over the sea lions.
No noise cancellation.
Not on those guys. From the hotel the night before, you can't sleep because they're all outside. All night long.
It should be a city ordinance.
They're not very respectful. Actually, one of our guys tried to fly a drone over them, to get the drone to try and scare them off the dock, didn't work. Made it louder, it's like, ooh, look.
I'm happy to get unload a building over it. That means I don't have to do taxes for a couple hours.
Okay, I should have put in the thought for that, see, that's the problem. Okay.
And I'm happy as Frederick, and toward our speaker, my wife is also self-published, so.
There we go. Thanks for our helpers that are helping yet another project out on the radio.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Fun. And now, Kendra, if you'd like to introduce our speaker, Amanda.
Okay. I'd like to welcome Amanda Zamora, local author of But Where Would They Live? A paranormal romance that has been described in reviews as an intriguing outlook on the traditional vampire lore with no vapid, mindless characters, navigating serious topics with funny, snarky wit. Her transition from being a zookeeper in the Bay Area to a stay-at-home mom in the Pacific Northwest to a self-published author currently working on her second book exhibits Amanda's wonderful ability to connect with different characters and lifestyles. In addition to those roles, Amanda also holds a seat in the Special Education Advisory Council, participates in the State Interagency Coordinating Council, an organization that coordinates the accessibility of early intervention in young children with disabilities. And I can personally attest to being an excellent Reba McEntire impersonator. And also I just want to tag on to that I have read her book. And I am not a paranormal romance fan at all, but it was like, it blew me away. And I don't know if I'll read other authors in the genre, but definitely the way that Amanda writes is phenomenal. So if anyone in your life or you yourself loves romance books or paranormal romance specifically, I would highly recommend checking out her book.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so thrilled to be here. So just thank you. Kendra mentioned that you're the owner of Sherwood, and I have two special needs kids who have been through early intervention through Sherwood, and it helps them immeasurably. So thank you. I'm a big advocate. Well, on TikTok, my biography says mom, advocate, author, in that order. And I guess that's the best way to describe me. When Kendra asked me if I wanted to speak with you all, I said, Kendra, gosh, I've been an author for about 2 seconds. My book has been on Amazon since March 20th, so 2 weeks. That's how long I've been an author. So there's a whole book I could write about what I don't know about it. But I would love to answer any of your questions. My book is, I don't know if you've ever heard of the book Twilight. It's kind of a funny story. I feel a little bit like Alice in Wonderland falling down the rabbit hole because I never set out to be an author. That was never an ambition of mine. But I think most of us can relate to the fact that the pandemic sort of affected us all in some strange ways. Some of us baked bread, and some of us grew gardens, and I wrote. And it's so funny. I can remember the day like yesterday. It was September. I was picking blackberries in my yard in Marysville, where I live. And I had this idea for this story that would just not leave me alone. And that's never happened to me before, but it was sort of like this song that I couldn't get out of my head. And it was this story about a girl picking blackberries in her garden and her vampire boyfriend watching her from afar, sort of overprotectively, like, oh gosh, thorns, blood. Ooh. Sort of silly, I know, but I couldn't get this idea out of my head. And so I started writing it down, and it was never meant to be more than just a short story, just for myself. And I was already a big fan of Twilight at the time. I don't know if any of you have heard of what fan fiction is. 50 Shades of Grey is a famous fan fiction series that was famously started as Twilight fan fiction, just like my book right here. So my characters evolved from somebody else, Stephanie Meyer. I don't know if you've ever read a book or watched a TV show or a movie series that you just weren't ready to put down when the credits started rolling. And that's kind of what happened to me. And I got stuck on these Twilight characters. I started writing it as fan fiction, one chapter at a time, and I posted it on fanfiction.net, and it was just for myself. And one chapter turned into the next, and I started getting a following. And before I knew it, I had thousands of people that would stop what they were doing and read a chapter that I wrote. And they would give me all this amazing feedback about, oh, this is better than Stephanie Meyer, and I love this story so much. And it really built up my confidence. And before I knew it, 2020 turned into 2022, and I had already written over 500,000 words in this world, in this lore. And I sat back and I thought, oh gosh, like I wrote all of this, and what a shame that I can't put my name on it because these are somebody else's characters. And I thought, gosh, it's just too much work for something that to just put up online for people to read for free, and that's all it'll ever be. And so I decided that I would put the time and effort into adapting it into my own world, into my own characters. So instead of Edward Cullen and Bella Swan, they evolved into Daniel Alexander and Mia Starling. And this also, I'm a local author, and it also is a semi-local story that takes place in Sequim, Washington. So you might recognize some of the places that take place in this book. The lavender in Sequim. I don't know if you've ever seen the lavender gardens there, but they're known as the Provence of the West because they're famous for their lavender gardens. I lost my train of thought. Does anybody have any questions so far before I?
Did you take a workshop or a class or anything, or did you just start?
That's a great question. No, I didn't take any workshops or anything. Writing was something that always just kind of came easy to me. My mom always said I was good at it. My English teachers always, I always got good grades in it. So it was something that came easy to me, but it wasn't something that I ever took formal classes on or anything like that. And yeah, just one chapter at a time. And I will say what has been really amazing to learn is just how easy it is now to get a book out there on Amazon. There are programs, there are amazing resources available on Facebook groups. There's a great group if you're ever interested in writing your own book and hearing from other people that have gone through it themselves. It's called 20 Books to 50K. And there are authors that are bestsellers that are on there that are giving out free advice for green writers like me. And it's sort of funny how quickly you learn, especially, I guess you could say trial and error. I got so excited. I wrote this book, I published it. And then you learn that, oh, it's the first in a series. It's just like a TV show that only has one season. And you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to invest in that yet. It turns out you write one book, nobody really cares about it until you have 3 to 5 books. So I've got some more work ahead of me before you're probably going to read my name in a paper. But I really appreciate all of you taking the time and hearing me out and letting me kind of hone my craft and talk about my book.
You have someone that reads through it for checking for your story flow and all that.
I sure did. My husband encouraged me to have it professionally edited. And so I went through a service called Readsy, and what you can do is you submit your manuscripts to different editors and there are different types of editors. There are copy editors, there are developmental editors that tell you if your story works. There's all different types of editors, depending on what your project is. And I submitted mine to a number of different editors, and the brave soul that said, yes, I'll do it, is the one that I went with. And her name is Nikki, and she was Nikki Levick, and she kind of held my hand when I needed it, pushed me when I needed it, and really helped me make the best out of my writing. Like, she really helped me make it shine.
Was there a cost?
There was a cost. There's a really great saying that I learned on TikTok, learning through all of this, which is that being a self-published writer or self-published author is not a lucrative career, it's an expensive hobby. And it's true. My editor from start to finish, my book cost me about $2,000 when you talk about professional editing, and then having a cover designed, you have to have an ISBN number for your book, and there's so many little tiny fees that you learn about as you're going through this. And like an ISBN number, you have to buy one for every single format. So for your paperback, for your ebook, for your audiobook, every single one has to have an ISBN number. So there are lots and lots of little tiny charges. And so it is a bit of an investment to write a book. I'm so glad I did it though. I have absolutely no regrets. It's been such an amazing process to really challenge myself. And just like this is challenging myself, standing up here and saying, look at me, I did a thing. I wrote a book.
You're doing good.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I got a question.
Sure.
I've always, I've read a lot of books and it's always very impressive, how the story develops, and what you read at the very beginning of the story is very much part of what happens toward the end of the story. Do you, before you even start writing, do you develop like an outline of the entire story where you can come back before you've written and change the beginning before you write the end?
I love that question. And for some writers, the answer to that is yes. And there are different types of writers that I've learned that there's a word for what I am. And I only just learned this recently. I'm what they call a pantser, which is I fly by the seat of my pants when I'm writing. It all just comes to me. I write it down. Sometimes I go back and I fix,
Add something at the beginning.
something or fix a hole or something like that. But there are pantsers, there are planners who can, know everything that's going to happen before it does, and then write to that. And that's never worked for me, man. I wish it would, because I feel like I wish I could write out these detailed summations of what's going to happen in the characters. But for me, I am just as surprised as my readers are, because I don't know what's going to happen. I don't, and it actually makes it really interesting for me to go, oh, well, what's going to happen? I don't know. We'll see, Yes, sir.
I got a question about your advocacy role.
Sure.
So tell people about what the Special Ed Advisory Committee in the ICC.
Sure. Okay, so Kendra I'm not. I'll back up a little bit. I have two children on the autism spectrum. They're 6 and they are 4. And they both went through Sherwood for early intervention services when they were younger. And through that got me really interested in advocacy, and being the most vocal, effective advocate for my children that I could possibly be. So I took a bunch of training and leadership courses through the Arkansas Snohomish County, and I got sort of just every project that came my way, whether it was for autism friendly libraries, or it was sitting in a roundtable with a congressman to talk about how we're failing our kids, stuff like that. I just really just dove in, and so recently I got involved in a group called it's through the DCYF, Department of Child, Youth and Family Services. The parents, holy words are hard. The Parent Institute of Engagement. And it is a 12-month long training program to take parents of children of special needs like me, and make them into the most effective advocates. And through that, I was sort of given the opportunity to sit on the special, once I finish this program at the end of this year, I will then be invited to sit on the special education advocacy committee. Council, gosh, there's so many letters turned over. The SEAC, the Special Education Advisory Council. And so, you know, it'll be my job to sit in and give my 2 cents on how we can best be serving our children with special needs in our communities. And I don't know a ton about it yet because I'm not actually on it yet. But I will be. I'm going to be invited to sit on the board as soon as I finish this training program. And I very much look forward to that. But as soon as I'm actually sitting on that council, I would love to tell you more about it.
Thank you.
Sure.
Is that council like a region, county, or?
I believe it's through, okay, here's more letters, OSPI.
Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction.
Yes, so it is, so it's through the, what is it again?
OSPI.
OSPI. So, the board is through OSPI, which I believe is a state.
Yes.
State is, yeah.
I work with them. Not to worry. Okay,
Yeah.
so I got a question.
Sure.
So you write your book,
Mhm.
there's several ways to outline it or no outline or go with the flow, and then you have an editor who looks it over. You kind of get the final draft of the print,
Right.
and you've got the cover design like you like it. And then you're ready to go. Then you press a button and 40 copies are made, or how does that work?
So
Then people on Amazon buy a book and it's sitting in a warehouse or it gets printed on a 3D printer.
there are so many different options to do this. Now, the funny thing is you think that, oh, you know, that the cover of your book, it might not be exactly what you want it to be because the professionals will say, oh, it needs to fit your genre. So, you know, paranormal romance, or it depends on what your genre is. But if you look at all of the covers for certain genres, all of their titles, and it's the same with movies, look very much the same in how they're formatted, how they're posed, things like that. So you kind of have to choose your marketing depending on what is your genre and what the market will buy. And so that's sort of hard because what you want your book to be might not would fit with that market criteria is. As far as the warehouse question, I was really happy, you know, my husband was like, oh gosh, I don't want to buy all these books and have all this pressure for them to be sitting around. And I didn't want that either. It's tough to do selling books when you're a brand new author like me. So what they have are these, what they call print on demand services. So what you can do is Amazon, you submit your manuscript to Amazon, and then you hit publish. And then when people want to buy your book, Amazon will print it on demand and send it to them. And then you get a very small, very small portion of the proceeds on that. So just for, transparency's sake, my book sells for $8.99 on Amazon. And out of that $8.99, I make $1.30. So it's very small. Ebooks, you make more though.
The rest of it goes for printing and all that. So
Yes, and the Amazon overlords. And there's other ways to do it. You could, I'm Amazon exclusive, but you could go wide, which means your book would be on Barnes and Nobles. It would be all over the place, but there are different benefits to being Amazon exclusive. Like my book is free on Kindle Unlimited. So people who don't have to buy my book to read it. And so you get great exposure through being on Kindle Unlimited as a self-published as a new author. So
Do you get anything per read?
yes, you get page reads. So you get a certain amount of cents per person who read, just pages. So it might just be a few pennies, but if 1,000 people read 5 pages of your book, it adds up quite quickly.
who sets the price? $8.99.
Oh, I set the price.
Oh, you do?
And they give you a whole chart, it's like, if you said it this much, this is how much you'll get from it. And, you look through the genre and, you want to be competitive to other books. genre and stuff, but yeah, most self-published authors. Honestly, it's hard enough just to give your book out for free. To be perfectly honest, I did a promotion recently where I ran a free ebook promotion, and I got 19 people to download it. It's tremendously difficult to get people interested in it. Yes,
Did you bring any books to sell?
sure did. I have them over there. I have a small stack if anybody's interested, but yeah, they're also on Amazon, paperback, ebook, and free on Kindle Unlimited if you know anybody who has a subscription. Anything else? Yes, sir.
So you said you just started, you decided to write in September, and then you told us about how you wrote 500,000 words.
Yeah.
So you've always been driven to just write your whole life.
No, not at all. It was escapism, 100%. It was my pandemic. I had this idea for the story. I wrote it down. And then the ideas just kept on coming to me because I said I was really, I'm a Twilight super fan, and this started out as fan fiction. And so, yeah, it's really difficult to explain, but for me, it was almost mostly just my need to escape the pandemic and how difficult that was, particularly back in 2020 when I was stuck at home with my 2 little kids who, didn't have access to their services or their special ed classes and stuff. So it was a tremendously difficult time. And I dealt with that by just diving into this story.
All right, so right now, are you working on your next one?
Yes, I am. So this is actually going to be a 3-book series. So I am currently writing my 2nd book for
It's
that.
better because it's a major cliffhanger, so.
Sounds familiar.
I will be mad if there's not another book.
I'll send you the first chapter.
Thanks for being here. It's great. We have a $25 donation to the Lake Stevens Education Foundation in your name as an author. Awesome. Any other information for the good of the whole? All right. Meeting adjourned. Thanks for being here.
What do you want a signature?
Yeah.